Alrighty, hopefully you guys can hear me. I think you should. Let's get this going. What we doing today? That would be this. There we go. So, hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to the stream. Today we're going to be doing a little something different. We do some flying, and we're going to be checking out some Betaflight presets, some of the new stuff that's coming in Betaflight 4.3. Still in development as of right now, but we'll kind of break up some of the flying with that. Take any questions you guys might have. It'd be really cool if you guys have any things you want to see, questions flight-wise or whatnot, that we could actually test it out. I have the DJI quad right here, so we'll be doing the FPV out. So I need to get that all set up. You're gonna have to stick with me a little bit on this. Hopefully this is coming together smooth. Yeah, all good. And let me know if there's any issues in the stream. I don't, the internet connection here is hopefully just enough. I think it has like 3 kilobits per second up or whatever, 3 up. And so hopefully that's fast enough. So I've turned down the upstream bit rate a little bit to compensate, but let me know. And you should be able to hear me. Let me, again, is everybody, I'm assuming I'm coming through loud and clear, and also you'll be able to see the camera on here as well. With that, we'll be able to take any questions. Of course, as always, I'm on the Discord here as well. So if anybody is on the Discord, UAV Tech Discord or Patreon, and has any questions, throw them in there as well as a live chat. So with this, I think what we'll do is I'll get started right away, dropping a few frames versus the audio is good. Yeah, the frame drop might. So we'll do this. Go to settings. And audio being good is good. All right, thanks for the feedback. I'll turn down to 1500 kilobits per second. I think that should be steady. We'll have to see how it goes. Again, the internet connection is not the greatest right here. So, anybody is, like I said, if anybody has any questions, let me know. What I'm going to do is flip around. I'm going to get this set up with the DJIout, so let me get that started up here a while. We're going to plug in. We're going to do a session. I won't be able to see the chats, obviously, with them flying. And I only have 4 batteries, so it's not like we're going in and out. I figure we'll do a little fly around. You guys can see if you have any questions. I can go through some of the stuff that I did on this quad already. So let me bring that up. Yeah, so you can see it all here. And then show that. Yeah, we should be able to be seeing the screen. So I haven't flown this quad in a while, and what I did is updated it to Betaflight 4.3. I had 4.3 on it, but it was an older release. Well, an older nightly build. So I upgraded it to the nightly build as of today, and then just took it for a quick flight. The tune was based on the old presets, so I have to, adjust the sliders for the new. The tune was based on the old sliders. I do adjust for the new sliders, and if you're doing that between 4.2 and 4.3, it's fairly straightforward, and I can connect to it here. I do have a cable. So I do get questions on, hey, are you going to do new presets for 4.3? And of course, yes, I'm going to. I just didn't do it yet. It's not all that mystical to just do it kind of yourself as well. What you want to do is, I go up into the configurator here. You'll be able to see that good. You want to go into the PIDs tab here, and you can just use this the PID grid up here as kind of your guide, and then just adjust the presets. So the PID gains have not changed. They haven't changed in since I've been flying Betaflight. The PID gains have not been, so that's like since 2015. The gain values have not changed. So you should be able to just use those gains as your guide. Just kind of move the new sliders around until you get the same numbers as your old. You should be good to go. Nevertheless, I did that on here with some tweaks and just took it for a quick flight to make sure it was going to fly. And this was my log of it. So one thing, it was real super twitchy. So let me go into here. You can see kind of the tracking on this is really on it. But I guess just to give a couple tips right off the bat on the stream here is you can see these spikes in feed forward. You can see how jaggy the line is here, the sticks. So this is the roll axis. The green line is my stick, when I'm entering stick commands for the roll. And I'm using the DJI transmitter. FBus fast is turned on. So it's basically the fastest transmission you can get from the DJI transmitter. And you can see it's fairly good. And again, there's no OpenTX, none of that stuff. It's just you get what you get with the DJI. You can see this is a little bumpy though, like an Express LRS or Ghost. Those are basically the two. This would look really super smooth. The DJI looks pretty good. It looks better than FR Sky, but it's still got a little jiggy jags. So one of the things I tweaked between just doing it this morning, just going out, little line of sight, flips and rolls, is when I first brought this on, I had, and I think the default is this averaging is off. So I go ahead and brought that to on, or put that onto 2. So it's going to take 2 packets of RC transmission and average those together. So it's going to be 1 packet delayed all the time, not for inputs in general, just for the feed forward signal. So as you are transmitting your sticks, you are sending everything's in stair steps. It's not like as you smoothly move the stick over that you get this nice smooth signal that goes out. It's not analog. It has to be digitalized. So it samples that analog input, you moving your sticks. With DJI, it's anywhere from 3 to 10 milliseconds. It really varies. It has a lot of jitter in it. Like Express LRS is like right on the nose with doing it every 2 milliseconds when you're on 500 hertz mode. Same thing for Ghost. Those have the least amount of jitter, so it's like right on the nose, 2 milliseconds. And then obviously if you go instead of Express LRS like 500 hertz rate, so you go to 250 hertz rate, then it's going to sample it every 4 milliseconds, and it's again right on the nose. With DJI, again, it's anywhere from 3 to 10 milliseconds. It kind of bounces all around. So as it's sending that in, you can see that the signal here is kind of choppy, and you can see right here at this one point. Let me just take a quick check here to make sure everybody can see. Can you? Yeah, let me get to the question. Special as for the wind, digitalize. Awesome. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure there was no like screen issues. So you can see it gets broken up, and you can see here it's fairly smooth. Now, again, we're just looking at the green line, so don't look at all these other lines. But right here, there's a big gap. So it extended out from, sending it, I'd have to look, but say this is every 2 milliseconds. Then it kind of waited a while and then sent another packet. And that's why you have this flat gap right here. So what does that do? Well, you can see the feed forward signal, which is the orange. Let me bump these up maybe a little bit and wait. Do this with this 3. So you can see the green line again, just made it darker. And then the orange line, or the burnt orange line, that's the feed forward signal. Well, when you have your input like kind of go to the right, stop, wait, go again to the right real fast, and slow down a little bit, speed up a little bit, because your stair steps are longer. It's very much like trying to run up or down stairs, and the treads are a different length. It takes a lot of mental power to run up and very much more down stairs if the treads are not evenly spaced. If the treads are evenly spaced, you can just do it without even thinking about it. Your brain just does it. Well, it's the same thing with Betaflight or any firmware. And then if these stair steps are different lengths, it can't smooth it out as well. It can't just automatically do it. So that results in this feed forward signal. So you get this boosting, then it slows down and boosts, then it boosts more, and then it. So I want to fix that. So how to fix that kind of stuff is I went into Betaflight here and I set this to 2-point averaging. So it's going to take 2 samples and just do a running average for the feed forward signal only. So back to here. So instead of looking at every packet, it's going to do a 2-point running average. So that means it's delayed by 1 packet. Again, just for the feed forward signal, and but it will result in a smoother signal. So let's go fly it and see what that looks like. The other tweak I made is just the feed forward gains were really high. The Blackbox Explorer needs to be brought up to speed, but you can see my feed forward weights for this quad are really high. 250, 260, 250. That's pretty high for this quad. Again, this is a pretty lightweight. Let's see right here. I have no GoPro on it. I don't know if I would say it's close to a race rig. It's not. I mean, you can see the arms are not super thick. I mean, the DJI full air unit being on it, but it's a fairly light craft. Now I have a GPS on it, buzzer, but that doesn't really have that much. So 6S, you can see those are just a little high. And you can tell that, not so much here, but if I bounce back out, go to here, and then kind of just look along this, you can just see that I'm overshooting. Like if I look at my pitch axis here, I'm actually overshooting my rate here a little bit. So just a couple spots. You can see it on some Twitch moves. The other thing I did is I used to have feed forward boost up to, I had feed forward boost set at 30, so that's this value. Here, I brought this back down to default. That, again, if you have a twitchy signal, you can't really move this boost up much. If you have a really clean signal, then you can, like Express LRS or Ghost. You can move this up, and that gives you even more advanced feed forward signal. So I brought this back down to default, did 2-point smoothing on that. And what else have I got? So in here, this is where you can kind of start to see, just doing some twitch moves, I was exceeding the rate coming back down. I had this huge feed forward signal right here. You can see it's just dropping down to really push the quad this way. And it was actually exceeding the rate. You can see this is the degrees per second rotation. So I make this, let's say make this 3, make this 5. I'm sorry, that's not what I want to do. 1, make this 5. The green line is what I'm commanding the quad to do. The cyan line is what the quad's actually doing. So you can see I'm commanding it to roll at a rate of 399 degrees per second at this spot, but it's actually starting to roll at 500 degrees per second. So that is a sign that your feed forward is too high, because you're moving your stick over fast, like I'm doing twitch moves back and forth, and it is rolling faster than you're commanding it to. Now, it doesn't really overshoot here at the top. Like when I stop the stick and then bring it back, you can see it doesn't overshoot it. But when you start to see that behavior, or feed forwards pushing this direction, like in one direction up or down, depending on which way you're moving, and your P term is opposing that, your feed forward value is too high. You should, bring the feed forward down a little bit. The P term's actually kind of counteracting it and saying, no, don't go that far, because it's actually getting big error myself here. So we're looking for a little bit better balance there on that. So those were the two things. So I could tell it was super twitchy. So you could just say, oh, geez, that's really twitchy. I'm gonna just reduce feed forward. You just go on the slide. You don't need to look at black box. But this is the kind of stuff that I kind of just go out and just take a look at the log real quick. I just plug the quad in, hit the flash button, and then I can see it, and then go see what symptoms I'm having and see if I can fix it. So that is those two things. I think that was it. Go back to here. Go back to here. So brought on two averaging, brought feed forward down to like the 200s instead of 250. I moved my anti-gain up, my anti-gravity gain up to like 8. Might be a little high. We'll see how it goes. And then, let's see, this is the filter for this. I got no RPM filter. I just have the new dynamic notch. Use my min and max. All the gyro filters are off. Yeah, so that's it. So let's do this. Let's change this sampling rate up to 2 kilohertz for data samples we're getting, and let's give it a rip, and then we'll see what we see on the backside, and then we'll start checking out some presets. Left buck over to here. Setting. There we go. Get it somewhere. And then check out. Let's check out what we got here. So I'm going to plug this sucker back in. Let's check out those adjustments. Do this. Go to here. Any questions? Oh no, it's frozen. FlyStream never without issues. What's up, FT? Tech problems. So yeah, did it freeze? It's tell you it didn't work. Oh, that sucks. Why? Why? All right, we'll try the. So you didn't see any of that. That's boring. A bit blurry. I think it's because of the internet. Yeah, maybe. It's gonna be pissed. I guess we got the log. Yeah. Shoot. All right. Well, I will try. You know what we'll try next? We'll try the. So none of that came through. We'll try the because I'm using the FPV out from the thing you could download. Instead of that, we'll try the Chrome app, see how that works. So, anyways, let's check out the log here and see what differences we might see. So you can just hit mass storage over that. Number 2. Well, next pack. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I struggle with switching back and forth because I switched from my QX7, which the gimbals are a lot tighter, to the DJI controller. It doesn't have the same gimbal feel, obviously. So that just makes it really tough to have the same, be able to fly the same with it. It's just difficult. I really need to put in Ghost or Express LRS receivers in all of them, and then I can just use that instead of the DJI transmitter. Come on, log. Open up. There it goes. All right, so we're on 4-minute flight here. 4 minutes of watching nothing. It's good times. So that is what we got here. So let's check this out. So you can see, let's go to the simple roll, how, best is just to look at that way, that the, make sure you can see this, yeah, that the feed forward signal is smoother. It's not as jaggly up and down. If you recall correctly, looking at this before, and you can see this is how it used to look. See how it was pretty spiky on zoom in, I guess 350 on this one, 350 on that one. So by making those two adjustments, you can see how it's improved that thing. Now, also brought down the gains. So by bringing down the feed forward gains, you can see also how it's not pushing as hard. Like here, the feed forward signals, the magnitude of that was pretty high in that move, that start roll move. Whereas if we bring down the gains, you can see the magnitude now. The feed forward signal's not nearly as high. Go over here. I think it maxed out at like 53% of the overall there, where this was up at like 102%. So it's quite a bit of difference. Now, how fast I move the sticks, it's about the same though. If I look between the two, I guess this one has a higher slope. You can see there's a little bit higher slope here. So that's a part of it as well. Like this one's not as steep. So you got to take that into account, because really the feed forward signal is how fast you move the stick. So when you move the sticks really fast, the signal is going to be higher regardless of the gains, even if the gains are the same. So that's that. Let's look here. Check out just some of these other ones. It did some twitch moves in here. Yeah, there's one. Yeah, so that's must have something's going on there. Something's showing me too. This gyro is not looking the healthiest to me. When you start to see this stuff, so if you're ever looking at your logging or hear weird stuff and you see, like, I'm in a complete roll here to the right, and this is jumping all over the place, that's not ideal. What you can do is kind of look at your raw here. Just see yeah, even the gyro scaled is up and down. It's just not a very smooth roll. I don't know why that is. It shouldn't look like that. It shouldn't be like that. And that's some of when I'm doing some of those pitch moves, you can kind of hear it oscillating to keep it on track. So let me see here. Let's go back to here. See some other moves. Yeah, I mean it's looking okay. At the end of the day, I try not to spend too much time on this. Like here, this is what I'll look for too for prop wash. Like, how do you know you really can't go any higher in the gains? You can see that the motor commands are, going from 100% down to 0. So it's commanding all it can to keep the motors, up to speed. The only thing I could do is to add to this a little bit more is try using dynamic idle. That would help give it a little bit more, but you really get diminishing returns once you get to a certain level of tuning. So when I start to see that the motor commands are spiking, all the way up and all the way down through prop wash moves, you're kind of at your physical limitation of how fast the motors are going to update. Like at that point, you can try to get lighter weight props, but that's about it. You can see on the roll axis here, even there, it's a little bit of a got some overshoot, which is fine, but even there, there's I would like to see that a little smoother. You can see here. So this is a twitch move. It's looking a lot better. We're not exceeding the rate. So maybe feed forward could be a little bit higher. With you could even see here the feed forward signal still not super duper smooth. I could up the averaging, but honestly, as I'm flying it, it feels fine. So I'm not gonna mess with it too much at this point. So yeah, gives you a glimpse of kind of the stuff that I look to when I'm looking at logs, just to see how things are flying. In flight, it was fine. You guys didn't get to see it. It sucks, but there was no weird issues. I want to try on the next one, try some nose throttles and stuff, see how the nose pull is doing. All right, so those look pretty good. So, any questions in that regard? Tweet FPV is streaming as well. So, yeah, streaming together. All right. So before I plug in the next pack, actually, I think clear this, and then I will get set. We'll see if we can try this again. Flash, erase flash. Clear out the black box, and as long as you keep these, it's another little trick too. Just keep the logs open, then you can come back to them. It doesn't, as long as you don't close them, they kind of stay in the computer's memory. Obviously, I'm erasing them now from the flash drive or the memory on the card here, so they'll be good. I don't know if there's any other tweaks I really want to make. Let's look at the noise performance, I guess. So raw noise on this, I think, is pretty respectable. It seems, well, I don't have exaggeration. Could be doing a little bit better on the filtering if I guess I've used RPM filter. Let that run. It's going to take a second for that to come up because the computer's doing everything else. Come on, come on. Just take a while. As that's coming up, let's take a look at presets. So Betaflight presets are in process. I think the guys, I haven't been super active with it, but the guys are probably a month out, I would guess. There's a configurator build of it. I have it here, and this is the latest configurator build with the presets in it. This is running Betaflight 4.3 nightly as of today, which is I think the last PR's changes to the nightly code was October 10th was the last time Mike approved a bunch of stuff. So any of the nightly builds since October 10th till now, so it's 24th, I think, they're all the same. Like that last build is the last PRs were from the 10th. So from the 10th until now, October 10th until now, it's all been the same. And then again, this build that's in the PR for the presets itself. So if you know how to do Betaflight builds, you can go build this yourself. The presets are its own little tab here, and how it's going to work is there is going to be a repository where there's official and then community presets loaded, and anybody can submit a preset that they would like. It's basically a CLI setup. So say if I click on here for tunes, I can click on these presets, kind of filter stuff out. You can see there's the Karate Race tune. There's a Betaflight 4.3 tune settings. I don't even know what that is. So I can click on it, and you can see a little description. So for this one, you can see the description there. If I click on this one, it has a little bit more of a description. So people are flying this one. Which there's actually options in here as well. So you can see a tune could have multiple options. You could say I want it to be, using dynamic idle or not. I don't know what spicy is or not, but you can see what things are by simply clicking on them and then hitting the open in GitHub. So if you click on that, actually pull you over to GitHub, where then it will take you to this text file, which is the preset itself. So that's really nice. I wish there was a graphic interface to see it, but that's not easy to do. A graphic interface to see the changes. And if you weigh it against other presets out there, like an Emu Flight or Flight 1, at least this gives you an idea of what's in the preset before you apply it. In those other firmwares, as far as I'm aware, you have no idea what it's changing until you just apply it and kind of like look through it and say, okay, it changed this, or you have to kind of know what you had before, and then, after you apply the preset, look at it again. So in this one, at least you can look through. Now it's, you got to kind of need to know what these settings are to know what they're changing, but you can see, what it's applying for dynamic notch, Q factors, and notch counts, and all that kind of stuff. Basically it's going to do a dump of this into the CLI and then save it. So that's what it is here. Now it's interesting. Yeah, so you can see this is kind of the options. You can see this is option begins with unchecked. So this is the spicy tune. And this is the option if dynamic idle is enabled. You can see what it's doing there for getting a dynamic idle setup. So that is that. The other thing that's in here, it's you can, if you only want official tunes, you can click the official tunes button here, which you should be able to see. So if I would think in the future there's going to be a ton of community presets, but if I go just uncheck and see everything, you can see there's one community preset right here so far. And if I, of course, check official, then you'd only get the official ones from, I guess, the Betaflight team. But a team is only like 3 or 4, like 2 or 3 guys. So it's, I would say the biggest, the official, I would say right now the official is, they're ones that are blessed by Chris Thompson, that have been looked through. Or the community ones, I don't think are going to go through a big vetting process. So, I guess applier beware for community presets. The official ones will have a little bit more vetting. But there's going to be more than just tuning stuff. There's rate presets in here as well. So you can see, you can come back in, you can apply different rate profiles. If you have your, different community ones, like Evan Turner might have his in there, that kind of stuff. You can see BMS Thomas has his in here because he works closely with Chris Thompson tunes and stuff like that. You can even use it to reset defaults. So yeah, for rates, maybe that's not hugely important, but you have other things in here, whereas if you just wanted to go back to default filters, you can go and click on here and then click on this and hit apply. That will load you back up. Now, if you look down through here, basically this is just reapplying the defaults for all the filter settings for 4.3. So with that, let's see if any questions. Makes sense. So Chris asked, why do I have RTM filter turned off? I just didn't enable it. I mean, I can. So let me do that on the next one, and we'll see the changes that makes. Flight performance without RPM filtering and just having the new dynamic notch. which can detect multiple peaks, is pretty good. So I've been interested in vetting that more and more, and that's why I have it turned off for now. But let's, I'll turn that on. Let's go back into here. So if I hit close now, the thing I don't love about the presets, if I click off of this, it reboots because it's basically you're like in a version of the CLI, and then maybe that will get changed before the official release. I know there's a number of items still on Ivan's radar. So I should mention that. Big thanks to Ivan. He is a racer and he's out of Texas. He's a contributor to Betaflight Code. He goes by Lemon FPV. The presets are his baby. He got, the okay from Mike Keller to go ahead and start going down this road. I worked with Mike to get the additional GitHub repository set up and the processes because there's some automatic stuff going on there for just PR approvals. He also coded up all the stuff for the configurator. He's currently working on that. He's cheerleading the team. He's really running it. And, he's no slouch. He places in national level of racing. So he's quite a unique guy because he's doing all this code work at the Betaflight development level, but he's ranked racer in the United States. So yeah, big thanks for having to all the preset stuff and best of luck with his racing stuff as he goes. He's again a competitive racer, so I'm sure he's in it to win for that stuff. So let's go, I guess, over here quick and get that RPM filtering set up. So in 4.3, the configurator is a little different. For motor stuff, you go to the motors tab. So to enable bidirectional, go ahead, click that. What this is going to do is automatically adjust some dynamic notch settings. So we'll go take a look at those. And so hit OK. It's just letting me know we're doing that. Of course, before we exit this tab, I got to hit save and reboot. Do that. See if there's some questions here. I'm going to go into the tuning tab again, see what it changed. So I'll go into the filter settings and I'll slide down here. You can see now we have the RPM filtering turned on, 3 notches. It's set, it automatically changed. I had 4 count for my dynamic notches here. It changed that to 1. And then it changed, I guess that was it. It just changed that to 1. And then it still kept the min and max the same. Changed the Q from 350 to 500. So when the RPM filters are off, your dynamic notch is wider. When your RPM filters are on, it narrows that down. But now keep in mind, we have lots of notches on each axis. We have, well, 4 times 3, so that's 12, and then 13. There's 13 notches on each axis before I had 4. So I can drop that down. I typically do not see any motor noise at kind of like the 3rd harmonic. Let's see if we can look at this log now. Yay, this came up. So when we're looking at, our raw noise, you can see kind of where our motor noise is. It's anywhere. Well, I have a bunch of stuff down here all the way down to 130, but it goes up to around 600 as well. So what we can do is change this to filter our frequency versus throttle. Hopefully this doesn't take forever to process. It might take a little bit. But you can actually look at the waterfall graphs of this. Ultimately, when you look up here at the 600 to 800 range, I don't see any. This is before any filtering. I don't see any spikes of noise up here. So that will be kind of the 3rd harmonic area. Even the 2nd harmonic area doesn't really typically show up until you're really at low throttle, like 0 throttle. That's where you might get some 2nd harmonic stuff showing up. So I usually, for RPM filtering, will put on 2 harmonics instead of 3, just to knock down some of the notches. Now, on the flip side, those notches that are way up at 800 or 1000, they're not really adding much, if any, delay. I mean, it's maybe like a 0.1 millisecond, 0.2 millisecond. So they don't really add that much delay at all. So, if you see them on or you just don't want to fiddle with it, I think you could go either way. It's just something I'd turn down. But I wouldn't say it's wrong to not. A lot of guys would say just leave all three on. So I'm not saying they're it's just six in one hand, half dozen in the other. So that's going to take a while to run the spectrograph. So other than that, that's all it changed. So what we can do now is run and see the difference between the two. So I think we're good. Any other questions on the, let me go back to here, see if there's any other questions on the presets. It's about to start the stream. Yeah, exactly. Ron says now he's got 4.2 figured. It's more of the same, more is the same than it's changed though. So if you're going from 4.2 to 4.3, it's really all the same fundamentals. So don't get too overwhelmed by it. So change agent asks, are manufacturers confirmed that they're going to upload presets? No, I mean they can if they want. They don't have to. They will need to. Anybody that does presets will need to keep up on the presets. So if you upload a preset for 4.3, for example, and then 4.4 comes out or whatever, you will need to re-upload a new preset for 4.4. Like you're not going to be able to see 4.3 presets in 4.4, right? Makes sense. So they will be self-weeding if people let them go. I anticipate a lot of community presets. There'll maybe be a big influx in 4.3 once it's out for stable release that people will upload presets. But I'm thinking in one release that will damper itself off quite a bit because people, it's work to keep up on it a little bit, to go back, look at them. So if you have a killer preset you really want to get out there as a community preset, I would think less is more because let's face it, if you put 10 presets out there, every release, are you going to update 10 of them? I doubt it. But one, sure, maybe do. So, yeah, Brandon asks, is there going to be a new black box Explorer? I mean, yeah, it'll be 3.5 is what we're on now. I think we'll go to 3.6. You can see a lot of the header files, header data is still hasn't. If I click on maybe this one and go to the H, you can see a lot, like even feedboard header data is not showing up there. So yeah, this just needs some tweaks. And I'd really like to see, and maybe I'll have to contribute to that myself, is instead of just showing the PID grid, which is great, I'd really like to see, the slider positions here. So now that we have, I would say, more consensus on the slider format and layout, it makes a lot of sense because I can read. I try to give advice using sliders, right? So a lot of times when somebody sends me a log, I'll have to look at their log, bring up with the configurator, move around the sliders to get the PIDs that they have. Then from there, say, okay, take your whatever and move that up or down, one or two notches, so that so that I can capture that things are more complex than folks realize for PID movements. Like when I say move up your P gains, I don't just mean move up your P gains. You need to move your I gains with them. And keep them in ratio. Well, that's a lot to explain versus just move up your tracking slider 2 notches. It takes care of that, the relationships between the gains, so you don't mess other stuff up. So it'd be really nice just to have the sliders here. So definitely will be an update to that. It will probably lag, Brandon, quite a bit, I would think. Yeah, after 4.3 is out, might be 3 or 4 months then until the Black Box Explorer gets updated. I mean, anybody can go in and start doing it now, but it usually takes the guys that are using Black Box Explorer quite a bit to get annoyed that it's not up to date, and then they go ahead and spend the time to update it. So hopefully somebody beats me to it. You can see. So this is the spectrogram. of the pitch axis now, not the roll. Let me go back to see if I can get it to go for the roll. But you can see a bunch of, here's the roll. So you can see in this quad, there's some funkiness happening. This is where I was talking about this second harmonic down here. You can see when I'm at really low throttle values, 20% throttle and lower. So this is kind of, I would say you're below hover throttle. That you have a bunch of noise here, and then that is showing up here as well. So this will, RPM filtering, the second harmonic will help crush both of these. And then you can see our motor band going up through here. Again, RPM filtering will help crush that out. So that's how it looks unfiltered. Let's look how it looks filtered. I can run fast enough. Yeah, so filtered, it cut it down quite a bit. You can see, there's just little remnants of it here and there. There's still a lot of this right down here. And this, this is a frame resonance because you can see it's throughout the whole throttle range that we have this vibration here. So that, having RPM filters on will allow the dynamic notch, to kind of jump on this and sit on it. I'm not sure if the best is to have one or two. Let's see what one looks like in running. And yeah, we'll take a look at that. Yeah, so luckily, as you saw in the Black Box Explorer stuff, even though the header data is not there, you can still see the missing stuff down below at least, which is nice. Yeah, so the dynamic, as Brandon was saying, the dynamic notch might be spending more time up higher and not getting that stuff down low. So hopefully with the so the dynamic notch is on. You mean two? Thinking two? All right, let's do two. I know what you're saying. Picking up what you're putting down. So do two instead of one on there. See how that looks. So now we got the first harmonic, the second harmonic of the motor band, and then two notches wandering around trying to hit stuff. Let's see how that makes a difference. All right, sounds good. Let's see if I can get this working. Chrome. And it is colder out here than you'd think. So try to wrap it up with this because I'm freezing my giblets off. To go to FP, it's going to be easy. I don't know. I don't want to deal with them. FP.com. Hopefully, we plug everything in. Browser. Live.fp.com. Sorry, yeah. It's live. Okay. Let me get the goggles plugged in a while. And see if we can get this. Round two of DJIout. Connect. Oh, waiting for video. Well, that's good. Woo. Cool. Let's see something there. That's good. I dare say do that. I don't know if I should do that. Let's stretch this way. What's that do? It's not help. That's not as ideal. Play. Picture. Yeah, I'm sure you can kind of see that. I'm sure beggars won't be choosers. If you can see anything, it'll probably be a heck of a lot better than it was before. Let's do cam switcher change out. There we go. Looks like we're there. You see the props move? Oh, it's pissed. Yeah, I saw some stuff move, but man, it did not sound happy about those changes. Let's try this again. This is complicated. All right, let's do do some sharp moves there to see select response. What we do. Right there was some weird movement. We got to see us around the center. We're doing some work right here with the FPV. Oh, breaker. Really nice bracelets. So, all right. Hopefully you guys are chilling for some. And see what we got for login. And hopefully guys. Did it work? Did it work? Let's see. Let's see. So did you guys see it this time? Did it work? For the love of gosh. Yeah, there I'm talking about. That's where it's at. Nice. So, yeah, apart from the flying skills. Switch this back. Sweet. All right, so the FPV, or the live.fpvout.com. This works out. Man, it is getting colder. Oh, let's let's check out what that filter change looked like. Feeling good. Kind of round up with that, and that'll be it. All right, so go into here. Open this sucker up. Well, that's good. I'm glad that it worked this time. The flying was a little bit better too. Not that it was that great. Well, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm like shivering. It's cold. It's not that cold, but it's chilly. A little chilly. Like 60. All right, so bringing that up. Let's see what we see here. Man, does that take forever. Let's go check out questions here. Weather here in Arizona is awesome right now. Yeah, bunkers. Flagstaff, that's where I want to be, baby. I probably gets a cold. I like to ski though, so I think that'd be okay. Yeah, I definitely have a jacket on. Yeah, I have to check out. So wide FPV. Do you mean like What do you mean by so Run Puppy says wide FPV works too? Do you mean just switching the aspect ratio to 16:9? I have it on 4:3, or is there like another website or something that supports FPV out? Okay, so let's check this out. So this was now the new log, and what I will do is sounding pretty aggravated on the ground, so we'll cut that out. And hopefully I don't shiver to death here. You can see definitely running some more oscillations, so the gains are a little high for that amount of filtering. So you will see this. You can kind of see it here, right? You can see how there's more just oscillation of the quad in those, throughout the whole section here. Now it goes away here. Let's see if that's consistent across. Actually, it's not too bad farther down the log. It should dissipate as the battery gets lower. So it's not too bad. Yeah, it's not too bad here. But as you tack on filtering, you may need, like if you have your PID gains moved up as high as they can be, like you get to a kind of a D-term oscillation point, and like the prop wash is really good. And you say, well, I bent some props, or frame starting to degrade, the arms, and you want to add on a little bit of filtering. It's counterintuitive, but if you're adding more filtering, it adds in a little bit more delay. And by adding that little bit more delay, you might actually have to back off the gains a little bit. So you move your master slider down. It's mostly a D-term time of thing, but if you're moving the D down, you want to move the P and the I with it. So that's why I use the master slider. But what happens is as you tack on more delay, higher gains might start to oscillate a little bit. And if you add even more delay, it's going to keep occurring. So, and vice versa. If you have your gains up to a certain spot and you can hear it kind of fluttery in forward flight, you're like, I can't really move my gains any higher than that. If you'd actually reduce your filterings by some, drop off your gyro low pass filters or something like that, you'd be able to move those gains up maybe another 5-10 points, maybe at the most. But it's kind of counterintuitive. People think it's the other way, but it's just not. It's just not how it works. So yeah, you can see by adding that little bit more filtering, I was getting a little bit more flutter there, but actually it's not too bad. And you'll notice too, if you do have it, it dissipates as the battery wears down, just because the motors have a little bit less torque to operate on. So that's fine. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Let's see what the gains are here, or what the raw noise looked like on this, and then the filtered noise. Well, that's processing. Go back over here. So Brandon asks, do we pay attention to the bandwidth for those notches? The only change was the extra notch, right? So I had 4 notches before, right? Just dynamic notch. But now we had 8 just with the RPM, because I had two harmonics on, so that's 8. So it's double. And then we had 2 RPM or notches for the dynamic notch. So if I go back into here, let's put this back in. So going to the tuning, and then going to filter settings here, you can see I had 2 and 2. So if I would knock this down to 1, then we'd have to have 4, 5, 6. So that's only 2 more than, for a 1-to-1 comparison. Now the Q up here, the Q by default for RPM filters is 500, and this up the Q. So it it kind of offsets. I'd have to look in the filter calc to see, one to one, to see what's what for how much delay each is adding. But it seemed it would probably added a little bit more filter delay. I don't think much, but I think there's probably some there. It seems like there's signs that we added some. So this looks like. Let's go to frequency plot. Hit that. Wish this wouldn't take so long, but I can understand laptop. The fan's not on my laptop because it's 60 degrees out here. The reason my cajon is off. All right, come on. Anyways, so let's see if there's any other questions here. All right, so let's see if we'll look again today. Yeah, doing this with whoops in the house would be a lot better. I need to get a whoop. So I don't have any whoop that has DJIout. By the time you have a whoop that has DJIout on it, it's not really a whoop. For the FPV out thing, it's kind of. I guess it's a whoop, but not much. So Brandon asks, but I added the filter delay, making the PD get respond accordingly. So it's not. So Brandon was asking, like, why is there this inverse relationship? It's just because of with your gains up higher, it's providing a fast and hard response to whatever is coming in, to whatever movement the gyro is making. And when you add a little bit more delay, that fast and hard response will be delayed a little bit, right? So it's actually, since it's responding so fast and hard, but the response is actually delayed, and the PID controller doesn't know that. It pushes hard in one direction, but then since it's delayed, it finds out it needs to push hard back in the other direction. So it's like steering on a boat. If you think about steering a boat, trying to give us an analog. Yeah, it's a pretty good analog, right? When you're at full throttle on a boat, you can give it fast and hard inputs, and the boat will steer and you won't have any issues. But as you reduce the throttle on the boat, your inputs are delayed. So like you'll give it a hard input, but nothing happens. And then something drastic starts to happen because you gave it a hard input, because it's the delay of the boat moving is there. So now you give it a hard input back the other way. And that will, if you keep doing that, if you keep giving it super hard inputs on a boat at zero throttle, you're going to get this, your oscillation will just keep getting worse and worse as you overcorrect. So adding filter delay is like reducing the throttle on the boat. And when you're giving it hard responses to correction, it's just going to make it, you're overshooting or you're worse. It's not going to make it better. Whereas if you increase the throttle, reducing the amount of delay you're going to get from your inputs, then it makes it better. That's the best analog I can think of why is it that case, that where you add filter delay, you get to your oscillation point for having higher PID gains actually gets lower, not higher. Okay. So how high would I set Protein? No, I can't. You guys have such weird usernames. I need like Brandon. That's a nice one. Somebody asked, how high would you set your master slider on 700 gram 5-inch quad? in Betaflight 4.3, if you're on Betaflight 4.3, I would say at least 1.5. You can see on this quad, this is a 5-inch. It's not 700 grams. This is probably, if I had to guess, I would say this is probably like 625 grams. I'm kind of guessing, but there's no GoPro, but it's a 6S battery, so it's heavy. And you can see I have a 1.65 on there. It's really and this is with dynamic damping turned off. It's really based on these D gains. You can see my D gains here, my D max and min, they're the same thing. So it's my D gains are, high 40s, low 50s. Almost all my quads are like that. They're either they're high 40s or in the 50s somewhere. Unless it's like a toothpick. I think the toothpicks, I think those are like more like low 40s. So a lot, and that's regardless of the 4S 6S thing. When everybody's like, "Oh, it's a 6S, so you reduced by a third." It's like I don't know, I don't see that. So master multiplier, I would say 1.5 would be a good starter. I mean, just start moving it up a little bit at a time, and that just moves all your gains up. So that's basically your prop wash performance slider. And then if you notice, you're having overshoots or whatever, you can increase your damping a little bit more. If you're having throbbles or bobbling, then you increase your tracking a little bit more. Now these move up just your D or PI gains. So master just moves everything up. So that's my best advice on that. Incremental changes, don't be afraid to tweak. So anyways, this finally came up, and I'll get back to some other questions and we'll probably wrap up. So you can see this is my post-filtered, or my pre-filtered gyro trace. So let's just look at spectrum on a roll. This is a little tip there. You can double click these little things now. That was not always like that. It was a pain. You have to like reopen. If you double click them, they go back to default. You can see this was just with the dynamic notch. This is with the dynamic notch plus RPM filter. So this is pre-filtering. So there's a slight difference there's a difference in the flight. So some of that is because of the filtering, because you get kind of this feedback going on. So some of it's just different flight moves, and some of it is because of the filter changes as well. I would say it's probably, well, it's hard to say, but keep in mind there's two different flights. It's not the same flight. So that is let's look at post-filtered, see the difference between the two. So let's just look at roll axis, I guess. On that one, this one. So that is post. This is post. So the post-filtered, kind of need to be smaller, I guess. So you can see, it's kind of similar. They're not that much different from each other. So this is one way to look at the stuff. Let's look also at just the trace values themselves. Let's go to here. So if I do this and zoom out, do this and zoom out. Here is that negative or 10% here. So you can see, I mean, it's filtered more. I mean, it's doing a better job. It's not. You can. There's certain aspects where it's a lot better, but generally with the RPM filtering on, uh, I'm looking down here at this D term trace and seeing the thickness of that line, and you can see it's transmitting less noise through to the motors versus here just with the uh, the dynamic notch alone. Okay, so about 1 minute over. Let me see back here, see if there's any other questions. A little bit bandwidth. Yeah, so Brandon's saying there's a little bit less bandwidth at 180 to it's about 25. Yeah, and the lower frequency stuff is the most important. So anything from like 200 hertz down, if you have a certain filter setup that's doing better at that lower or from 200 hertz down, in that's the one you want to use. So yeah, it's doing a little bit better. Yeah, Yoda Wild. Yeah, so yeah, change agent, I said master, if master at 1.5 is too high or too low, then you just move it to where you need it to be. Yeah, no problem, Chris. With that, I think I'll stop freezing my butt off. So appreciate everybody coming out today. Sorry the first FPV out part didn't work, but you can see the Chrome version did. So hope you guys appreciated that. Is it a good idea to run a Cine lifter on 4.3? I don't know if it flies good on 4.2, then I wouldn't worry about it. If there's certain, I think, the main benefit, I think, for a Cine lifter of 4.3 is the anti-gravity in 4.3 has been improved over 4.2. In 4.3, anti-gravity boosts the P and the I term, as it should, together, whereas in 4.2, it just boosts the I term, which really doesn't do that much. So I think that would be a huge help on Cine lifters. Cine lifters, the main issue they suffer from is just the weight. They're underpowered, and it's not that you don't have powerful motors. You definitely have powerful motors on there. It's a lot of weight to be slinging around. So they suffer from uh, just having tools in the toolbox to keep up with that kind of stuff. The filtering's better, so that will help. For your frame residences and whatnot. Now that the dynamic notch can detect multiple peaks, so I would say the new dynamic notch would be helpful for Cine lifters the most, and even more than that, I would say the anti-gravity. So if you're noticing, like when you're getting on off the throttle and you're seeing the nose bubble, I'm not saying it's going to be the end all be all fix, but it should help, and it may take care of it altogether for you. It may not. It depends how far off your center of gravity is. So yeah, I think it would be helpful, whether it's everything you need to be or not. That's depending on what you're trying to fix and what. Okay, with that, I'm gonna wrap it up. Thanks everybody for coming out today. I hope this was a little bit more interesting to just sit behind the desk. I'll try it again. It seemed like it worked out pretty well once I got use the Chrome version of the FPV out. But yeah, until the next one, see you guys around, and again, thanks for stopping out. Peace.